Brenner, America's premier Jewish broadcast on the air since 1981.
And now, here's your host.
Welcome back to the program. I'm Zev Brenner. Always great to have Councilman Kalman Yeger with us, but after this week, he may not just be councilman, become assemblyman. That's what he's looking for. He's taking over, looking to challenge the seat held by Helene Weinstein for over 41 years. He's running for assembly, and he's been a city councilman and been on this program for so many years, even beforehand. So good to have you back again, Shavua Tov.
It's good to be here.
Thank you. So tell us, there's a change. You've been a councilman. You're now running for assembly for a seat held by Helene Weinstein. How's that coming along?
It's going great. It's a community I know, I love, I've lived in all my life. I know Helene since I was a little kid. When she announced a few months ago that she was going to retire, and she called me the day that she decided this, she said, I want somebody who I've seen their work to fill my shoes and to carry on what I've been doing. And I do know what she's been doing. So this is just something natural for me to try to accomplish. And it's a way to serve my community in a greater way. New York City is New York City. New York State is the whole state. So it's an exciting, very short campaign because this really only started in March. But it's been an exciting travel around the community.
Now, how does it work? If you win the primary, then you have to go in the general election?
If I win this primary, this general election in November, that's where the actual election is. This is simply the primary. And after that, I'd be elected, and I'd leave the council at the end of Helene's term, which is the end of this year, December, and join my friend Simcha Eichenstein, traveling up to Albany every single week from January to June, starting in January.
Now, how does it work with your council seats? So if you win in November, do they have to make a special election, or do they have to wait till January? What are the rules?
When I leave, God willing, when I leave the council at the end of this year, the mayor will declare my seat vacant, and then there would be an election within 2 months.
So it wouldn't happen until January, even if you win in November, but that wouldn't take place. There wouldn't be determination for a special election. It wouldn't take place till you actually get sworn in as assembly member.
Helene's term is till the end of this year, so that it wouldn't happen until after the conclusion of her term, or at the conclusion of her term.
So many
I will be a councilman until the last moment that I'm allowed to by law.
And then you transition over. Okay, exciting. So, any surprises on the campaign trail? What are you hearing out there?
The only thing that I'm surprised by is how many people I don't currently represent who actually know me and know my work. And when I walk into a room, and whether it's Sheepshead Bay, which is not an area that I represent right now in the council, or East Flatbush or Flatlands, they all seem to know me. They know my face, they know my name, and they're excited. And they love Helene. She's done incredible work. So walking into a room by myself is one thing. Walking into a room with her is quite another experience. There's not a block in this neighborhood. There's not a room that she can walk into that she's not known and beloved. But what's actually surprising is how many people know me and know what I've done, know the things that I've said, know the things that I've stood for, and that I stand for. And it's not far from my current district. Remember, a good part of my district overlaps right now. So people in this assembly district, I'm already representing them in the council, some of them. So it's just a natural extension of my boundaries, if you will.
Now, do you know if there are a lot of people looking to fulfill your seat should you win? Is that jockeying begin now, or it's only going to begin in November?
I'm not focused on replacing me until it's time to replace me. I have an incredible community that I serve: Borough Park, Flatbush, Midwood, Gravesend, Bensonhurst, the Piece of Kensington. Some of that was changed in the last redistricting, but I like to tell people I represent the best council district in the city. It's still true, even though so much of it is not in my assembly district. It's just an incredible place. Borough Park, Flatbush. You walk these streets, you see your family, and it really is that in a real way. So it's an incredible community. not going to talk about, what happens after I'm gone till I'm gone. For now, there's one goal in front of us, which is winning an assembly seat this year.
No, and that's taking place in November, but the primary, of course, is on Tuesday. Are
And
people?
people are voting already. People have been voting since last weekend, straight through this entire week. And then tomorrow, Sunday, Mr. Shem, is the last day of pre-voting voting or early voting. And then Tuesday is the primary.
Now, do you find that many members of the community are taking advantage of early voting, or is it still traditional people like going on the primary day?
Not at all. People are not voting early. And it's a shame that they're not taking advantage of it. And I understand the desire I like to go vote, on election day. And I get that, but early voting is also election day. It's really, I call it, instead of election day, it's election week. And, leaving aside that today you can actually ask for a mail ballot without having to have a reason. You don't have to say I'm out of town, or I'm not going to be around, or I don't feel well. Anybody was allowed to ask for a mail ballot up until last weekend, and a lot of people did do that. But the early voting people are just not going to, for a variety of reasons. One is that they're just not used to it. Primary day is primary day is primary day. But also, there are far fewer early voting sites than regular sites, and it's not your regular election site. So you may vote 2 blocks away from you live on election day, but for early voting, you got to get into your car and drive 10 minutes. And for a lot of people, that's just not convenient, and it's just not worth the added convenience that early voting tends to is alleged to bring. And people just say that the difference between the early voting simply spreads out who's voting. It's not really bringing new voters in.
Oh, it's not bringing them. But again, there's a small amount of people vote in a general election, even smaller amount than a primary.
Yeah. I mean, I think we may see this November people taking advantage of early voting because they anticipate lines on election day. It's a presidential election. That's always the highest turnout. We saw 2 years ago during the gubernatorial race, there was in our community people lining up to vote early the Sunday before. So we'll see how tomorrow goes. But look, I'm hopeful that people take advantage of the opportunity to vote as early as they can, to get it done, to get it out of the way, and to know that they don't have to worry about. Remember, Tuesday's a yeshiva day, it's a work day, it's a regular business day, so it just may not be convenient. And this is also the last week that a lot of people are in town. This is legitimately the last weekend. I'm telling people, look, when you're going out and doing your country shopping on Sunday, swing by the early voting site, go out there and vote.
Or if they miss it, they should go on Tuesday primary day and make sure you vote.
They should go out on Tuesday. I mean, this is the last week. This was the last Shabbat that people are here. They're excited about going up to the country. I want them to do one last thing before they leave, and that's vote.
Now, let's look at some of the important races that are taking place. I know, for example, there's a movement. Jamal Bowman's been terrible on Israel, but he said some atrocious things, even though he tried to backtrack that the other day regarding Hamas and what happened on October 7th. But he's facing a serious challenger, George Latimer. Have you been focusing on that race? I think from what I'm seeing, George Latimer stands a very good chance of unseating him.
Oh, I think Latimer is going to win. I don't want people to become complacent, but if you live in the Bronx portion of the district in Co-op City, or Scarsdale, Westchester, in Westchester County, New Rochelle, so many places where we as a community have a great impact, you must vote. It's an achrayus, it's an obligation. Ramosha, as is famous to have said, that it's a moral, ethical, halachic obligation to go vote. And there can be no race where that's more clear than that congressional race. Bowman is not just somebody who said things about Israel. Bowman is an avowed anti-Semite. He is probably the most prominent elected anti-Semite in Congress in New York, to be sure. He's got allies like AOC, who's also not a great friend of our communities, but Bowman has gone full-blown anti-Semite. And in this race, we've seen it in a way that this is not something he developed. This is who he is.
No, absolutely. Have you got together with George Latimer?
I gave him my name to use, and I told his campaign that I'm fully with him. Obviously, I don't represent anything close to that area, but to the people that I've spoken with in Westchester, going back, 6-8 months ago, when we were who might run, I've told him it almost doesn't matter. It has to be somebody from the community who's good. And George Latimer was a gift because he is so beloved in Westchester. He's somebody who has served with incredible distinction. This is not just a grudge match. This is a guy who has spent his life in public service, George Latimer, in every level, and has done so much. And there's not a street, a circle, a drive, a wooded area anywhere in Westchester County or street in the Bronx that he doesn't know, because it's right over the border. He knows this neighborhood. He knows it. And what's actually interesting is that, Bowman has spent the last several weeks really talking about nothing but I hate AIPAC, I hate Israel, I hate Jews, whereas Latimer talks about campaign issues, jobs, the economy, taxation, what it means to be a member of Congress, the things that he can do. Bowman's just, let's get the Jews. That's been his campaign. Today he was joined in a part of the Bronx that I don't actually think is in his district, together with AOC, screaming and ranting on stage. The Twitter is filled with clips of it, cursing at AIPAC, at Israel, at Jews. I mean, when I say cursing,
AIPAC will see the power of the muttering effing Bronx
right.
from the rally. I mean, I can't believe he would even talk like that. It's
when I'm saying cursing, I'm not saying like, may you catch a bad illness cursing. I'm saying he's actually using 4-letter words on a microphone, jumping up and down on stage like a raging lunatic. This guy is not just somebody who should be thrown out of Congress. He seriously needs to be checked into a mental institution.
Here's what he said. People ask me why I got a foul mouth, Bowman continued. What am I supposed to do? You're coming after my family, coming after my children. I'm not supposed to fight back. I'm not surprised you fight back. We're going to show them who the blank we are.
Well, first of all, I mean, that's part of the lunacy of how he's been campaigning. Nobody's coming after his children. Nobody's coming after his family. This is a congressional race, but he has turned this into, I got to get the Jews because otherwise the Jews are going to get me. He has signed on to every anti-Semitic trope that there is about money, about AIPAC, AIPAC can't deliver a congressional seat. Jewish communal support for Latimer can't deliver a congressional seat. They could just help a candidate get a message out. At the end of the day, a campaign is about the candidates and their message. And if Latimer doesn't have a message for the community won't vote for him. What we're seeing here is Bowman doesn't have a message for the community. He never did. And he hasn't had a race since his first one. And his first race was all about throw the guy who's there out. And he accomplished that, but to what end? Because for the last 4 years, he served with zero distinction, other than pulling a fire alarm in the Congress and then lying about it and denying that he ever did it until the video came out. He's literally done zero.
And he was lucky he got that position because Congressman Engel, Elliot Engel, who had the seat beforehand during that last race, he didn't really run. He pretty much gave up. He didn't really put up a fight.
It was, I think Congressman Engel is somebody who served with great distinction. I know him.
He's a great man.
A wonderful human being, and he has family actually who are my constituents, so I know him even better than I used to. But I would disagree that he didn't put up a fight. I would just say that it was the kind of race that he wasn't used to because it was a very 2020s race of the screaming and the ranting and the lunacy and the social media and not the traditional election. And I think the regular folks who are used to voting didn't really feel the impetus to actually come out. This is also a little bit of a different district. This is not Elliot Engel's district. It's the seat, but it's not the district. Riverdale's not in it. Riverdale is now represented by the incredible Richie Torres. What an honorable, my former colleague in the council, but what a wonderful human being. Could not think of a better time for a Richie Torres to be alive than right now. But the Bowman race is really about who has a vision and who is simply just trying to hang on by his skin. And George Latimer has a vision. He's an incredibly good public servant, and he's going to win. He's
that looks like it. But everybody want to vote.
Must vote.
Our guest, Councilman Kalman Yeger, he is running for assembly, And he served with distinction in the city council, looking to do the same thing in the assembly. We're looking at not only racism primarily, or how it affects the Jewish community, also politically with how we're doing in New York City. We're going to be right back. If you'd like to chime in our conversation, 212-769-1925, 212-769-1925. You can email Zev at talklinenetwork.com, Zev at talklinenetwork.com. We're going to be right back.
Scotsmans have been in the jewelry wholesale business for 40 years and opened their first store location in Crown Heights 12 years ago. They've gained a following well beyond Crown Heights and now open their second location in the heart of Surfside, Florida on Harding Avenue. They specialize in bridal, special occasion, custom, and everyday fine jewelry. Visit either of their 2 locations on Instagram or via their website, tjewelers.com. That's tjewelers.com.
Every time you make a healthy choice, you make your body and your mind happy. So what is healthy? Healthy is getting more sleep. It's also getting more exercise and eating well. It's seeing your doctor regularly. Healthy is even managing your stress in a way that's good for you. Healthy is being connected to others and free to live your best life. For tips and resources, or to learn more about New York City's campaign for healthier, longer lives, visit nyc.gov/stayhealthy.
Here, Rubenstein at JCon Conferences, inviting you to attend our real estate summit on Tuesday, July 9th at the Hilton in Staten Island. For more information and to sign up for our early bird tickets, please visit attendjcon.com. That's attend, ATTEND, JCon, JCON.com. If you're in the real estate industry, whether it be management, construction, development, you don't want to miss this event. This is our 7th annual JCon real estate event, which will take place on Tuesday, July 9th at the Hilton in Staten Island. Please visit attendjcon.com to sign up for our early bird special.
Boss, we need a rebranding ASAP. Can't be busy with that. Our website is so outdated. I can't be busy with that. What about social media appearances? I can't be busy with that. So what's your plan?
My plan is Media Depot, known for top quality affordability and efficiency. Boy, will they be busy for me. Call them now on 855-BUSY-BIZ. That's 855-2879-249. Or visit MediaDPT.com. Remember, 855-BUSY-BIZ. We be busy for you to be able to be busy.
Call Media Depot now.
Media Depot, 855-BUSY-BIZ.
Hey, it's New York Times bestselling author and ghostwriter Michael Levin, and books are my babies. Here's an amazing idea for a gift for a loved one or friend, or perhaps for yourself. A family memoir, a business book, or any other kind of book written and published just for you. My company, Jewish Leaders Books, offers ghostwriting, publishing, marketing, and distribution of books onto Amazon and through Simon & Schuster, distribution into brick and mortar Barnes & Noble bookstores, and even into airport bookstores. You can get a framed photo of the cover design to give as the perfect gift. To learn more about how Jewish Leaders Books can get your book done for you or for a friend or loved one, contact my friend Zev Brenner at 212-769-1925, extension 100, or drop him an email at zev@talklinenetwork.com. Again, that's 212-769-1925, extension 100, or write to Zev at zev@talklinenetwork.com, and we will get your book going for you.
Are you looking to create extra income for yourself or for your family? Well, Talkline Network is looking for go-getters who are looking to generate more money by getting involved in the lucrative world of selling radio and TV time, as well as commercials and podcasts. You can work part-time or full-time. We pay high commissions for those that are motivated to sell radio and TV time. If you're interested, please contact us at 212-769-1925, extension 100, 212-769-1925, extension 100, or info@talklinenetwork.com. Ideal for students, for retirees, for housewives, anybody looking to generate extra income. Again, that's 212-769-1925, extension 100, or info@talklinenetwork.com.
Thank you for listening to this episode of
Talkline with Zev Brenner, America's premier Jewish broadcast, on the air since 1981. Please call us with your questions and comments at 212-769-1925. That's 212-769-1925. Or email us at zevbrenner@gmail.com.
And we're back. Councilman Kalman Yeger, running for assembly on primary day, is our guest. Yeah, you mentioned AOC before, and people may not be aware of, I'm sure you probably are, that she does have an opponent running against her, Marty Dolan, who is also seems like a very interesting person, but people don't know about his race as much as they know about the Bowman race. So do you know Marty Dolan by any chance, Kalman?
I met him actually, believe it or not, in Borough Park. He seems like a lovely fellow, a really nice guy. He's trying to get a message out. I do believe that people in New York are tired of the microphone grabbing, Twitter screaming, and they're looking for actual real service. And that's what I've always tried to give. And I think that, the responsible elected officials are those who do that, the real service, not the screaming, from the rooftops. And Marty Dolan is that guy. Whether he can get his message out in Queens and the Bronx over the next, 72 hours remains to be seen. But, he certainly, if I lived in that district, he'd have my vote. No questions asked.
Has he been able to use your name in his campaigning?
I told him he could for whatever it's worth. I don't know that it's helpful. I'm not one of those people who thinks that my name in every single neighborhood in the world is a vote getter. But those who think like I do, and those who know my service and know what I stand for, I'm hopeful if they live in that district and they see that I'm willing to stand with Marty. I hope that they take a chance to give him their vote. It's worth it, even if it's nothing more than a protest vote. It's still worth it to at least go up and be counted. You should never miss an election. There's no such thing as an election that doesn't count. I don't believe in that.
And she's obviously has more money than him and probably slated to win because people don't know him yet. It started a little bit late. But every vote that goes against AOC is a protest vote. What concerns me in the Bowman race, God forbid if he wins again, he'll probably be even more vicious than he is right now.
Yeah, I mean, the only good thing about that is that I think he has so isolated himself in Congress that he is meaningless. Much like, Ilhan Omar, for example, nobody cares what she thinks from either side of the aisle. And I think that he spent this race becoming, unveiling himself as such an incredible lunatic, such a hateful person, somebody who, it's not just that he has positions that he wants to espouse, which I understand, but that he has an extreme hatred for Jews, a sickness almost. I don't think he's well, frankly.
No, but I was tickled pink. You probably saw on Saturday when they had a rally for AOC and Jamal Bowman. Senator Bernie Sanders came out to endorse, Bowman and AOC, but they were disrupted by pro-Hamas demonstrators.
Well, it's always lovely when you see the anti-Semites eating their own, and it's just an incredible place to be where you think that AOC and Bernie Sanders might not be enough pro-Hamas, that the pro-Hamas people need them to be more pro-Hamas than they are. But such as it is, and what incredible times we live in, to see that is just very, very strange.
Now, what about the city council? Have you been hearing murmurings from other city council members that are angry at Israel about the Gaza situation, Hamas? Have you had encounters with fellow council members about this issue?
Well, as a standard rule, and for as long as I've been in the council, this has been my rule, is I don't talk to the anti-Semites in the council. And there are a handful of them.
How many are they, would you say?
Hardcore anti-Semites, probably 3 or 4, people who find themselves comfortable in the anti-Semitic wing a little more. But, single digits. The 3 or 4, the problem is the most prominent anti-Semite unfortunately represents a piece of Borough Park, Shahana Hanif, and people know that. She is the council member who, when she was first running for the council, by the way, a student of Brad Lander, that great friend of the Jewish people, when she was first running for the council, she tweeted out a message to globalize the Intifada, which we all know is code for kill Jews. And she has been nothing but anti-Semitic during her time. In fact, when the council had a resolution, we do a lot of things in the council that are completely meaningless, as people know, and this is one of those things. We had a resolution in the council, just, end Jewish hatred, a resolution to declare that it's the sense of the body that we ought not to be hating Jews as a community of people. What seems pretty easy to me. 6 members of the council could not vote in favor of that. 3 of those members are 3 of the 4 who represent Borough Park. I'm the 4th. The other 3 who represent Borough Park could not vote in favor of a resolution.
And who are they?
Shahana Hanif, Rita Joseph, and Alexa Vilas. For them, voting against voting in favor of a resolution that said hating Jews is a bad thing, that was a step too far for them. So, there are real problems, but this is in every house of legislature in this city and state, and in the federal government. There are anti-Semites in public office. I talk about it all the time. You've heard me say this. I'm one of the few who are not shy about saying it. People tell me it's not polite. You can't call your colleagues anti-Semites. I said, but what if they are? If they are anti-Semites, can I still not call them anti-Semites? Because I think to not say out loud the truth and to just pretend, close your eyes like an ostrich and put your head in the sand and let the anti-Semites do their thing and not call them out on it is incredibly dangerous, especially during these times.
So let me ask you this question. You mentioned that they have pieces of Borough Park. Aren't there enough members of the Jewish community, if they voted in greater numbers, to defeat these candidates?
Sadly, not by ourselves. We represent such little portions of those 3 districts that even if every one of our voters came out and voted no on them, without them getting a challenge from their own base, it would not be successful.
But is there anybody out there who is really challenging them in a serious way? I haven't heard of any.
Well, I think that those races, this year people are, the even year is state, federal, obviously presidential, and the council runs with the mayor in the odd year. And I think as we get closer to the end of this year, when, for example, my seat becomes available next year, so do all the other seats. And I think, later after July, as people get closer and closer to November, people start thinking about the next year's elections, and I think that's when you'll start seeing if there's an appetite for somebody to come from those communities and challenge them.
Because just like George Latimer came out, which was great, to challenge Bowman, he started early on. The other candidate, unfortunately, Marty Dolan started very, very late and doesn't have very much funds. I think he told me he had like $100,000 versus AOC's $4 million. So there's it's like a small amount, but he's putting up a fight, and I think we should be putting up fights and supporting candidates that support our community.
Well, the good thing about those council races when they do come up is that they are capped races. Generally, if somebody's in a public finance system, there's a maximum how much somebody can spend, and as long as you raise that small amount that you need to raise, you should be able to run a full-fledged campaign. And I'm hopeful that challengers to the anti-Semites in every single office that they hold stand up and say enough is enough. We just read a couple of days ago, Brad Lander, bless his little heart, is running for mayor of New York. How terrifying to be a Jew in a world where a Brad Lander can run for public office. How terrifying.
And he announced, Scott Stringer announced, I think Andy Cuomo wants to be mayor of New York.
Yeah, look, there's plenty of time between now and the next primary. Right now, we have a mayor who has stood up for the Jewish people in ways that first of all, in ways that we are entitled to expect of all of our leaders. Simply standing up and saying Hamas is bad, free the hostages, have a great day, is not really a complicated message. And this shouldn't be something that we have to convince people to take. In the city council, we were not able to convince people to do that message. October happened, October 7th. Vile speeches on the floor of the council blaming Israel almost immediately. From people who never called for a ceasefire on Hezbollah and Hamas when they were raining missiles on the Jewish people for years. But as soon as Israel said, we're not okay with you jumping over the border and killing 1,200 of our people, ceasefire. What they really mean is Israel needs to seize so that Hamas can fire. And that's who these people are. They want Israel to fall down. They stand with Hamas. They do it proudly. They say that they're not anti-Israel. They're just pro-peace or anti-Zionist, which is simply code for anti-Semite. And you don't have to quote me on that, because Martin Luther King Jr. said exactly that over 50 years ago. So people know, and Richie Torres has been talking about this. When you say anti-Zionist, you mean anti-Semite. Just use the original words. We're not stupid.
Be clear. Moshe on the west side, you have a question for Kalman Yeger. Councilman, go ahead, Moshe. Yes, go ahead, Moshe. What's your question or comment for Councilman?
So you came up with the name Brad Lander tonight. And I want to point out, I don't know if you were aware that controllers previous to Brad Lander, Jewish and non-Jewish, specifically John Liu, Scott Stringer, always held a Jewish heritage annual event, whether in May or December around Hanukkah time. They had a nice kosher dinner. They had some honorees from the community. Brad Lander has made it a point in 2.5 years as controller not to have a Jewish heritage event. He's had events for every other minority community, including last month, in the municipal building, the Asian Heritage Month breakfast. He refuses to have, and someone needs to ask him a question. Why, Brad Lander, do you refuse to have a Jewish Heritage Month event? Ask him or his deputy liaison, Penny Heikens, who's been in that job for too long. What's going on?
Well,
I'm responding to you. Go ahead.
I'll separate those pieces out. First of all, I don't think his staffer is to blame for this. To be sure, that's number one. I say that without question. I know him very well, and that is not the case.
And Penny would definitely want to have it. Yes.
Yeah. I mean, when you think about Brad Lander holding a Jewish heritage event, who would he invite? I mean, who would come?
Bernie Sanders.
Right. So like Brad would bring, and people who see me on Twitter, I talk about this all the time, the as a Jews, right? Whenever they have something to say, they start it off with, as a Jew, I'd like to tell you why I think Israel should be destroyed. As a Jew, I'd like to tell you why, Jewish education is terrible. As a Jew, let me tell you why Hamas is right. That's the community of so-called Jews that Brad Lander represents, like the organization that calls itself the Jewish Vote, which only endorses anti-Semites. So, who would he invite and who would go? And so I guess I can almost understand without asking them why they don't have a Jewish heritage event. And frankly, you always see, if you look on Twitter, whenever Brad Lander wants to show that he's Jewish, he has Havdalah at 3:00 on Saturday afternoon, or some other nonsense like that. So, or has a Seder at, some Arabic restaurant or some other craziness. But it's all about showing that he's a better Jew than anybody else, and at the same time making sure that his leftist friends continue their hatred. And what he doesn't get is that when they want to build gas chambers for the Jews, he doesn't get exempted. They hate him too.
And same thing with Bernie Sanders, who also I find to be, I just don't understand. He spent some time in Israel. He's such a rabid hater of Israel. It's just unbelievable. Can you name some of the other anti-Semites in the city council?
Look, I mean, we've done this dance before, Zev. You've asked me the question. The prominent ones, I give them their names, because they've earned it, and I think they almost seek it. And certainly those who have voted the way they did. And there are others. I think that it's important. It's less important to name the names of every single person who has anti-Semitic tendencies, and more important to focus on how we can challenge them when that time comes. But just to do a show where I'm just going to list 12 names, and then invariably what happens is they're going to find one rabbi to say, no, he's great, he's wonderful. How do I know? Because he gives $5,000 a year to my organization, so he's wonderful. I don't want to get into that future debate. So I'll leave it as the ones that I named. It's particularly the ones who represent Borough Park are incredibly dangerous. And then, the one other name I'll put out there, because it's so clear based on what he said on Twitter that he's vying for, or at least contending for Anti-Semite of the Year, is Chiose. Incredibly dangerous as well. But, there are.
What district is that? What area is that?
He represents Northern Brooklyn, Bushwick area. And it's always worrisome when somebody like that represents an area that has Jews in it, and he does. Because there are Hasidim from the Williamsburg area who live in that district, and in Crown Heights as well. You're always worried about that because what is he thinking when he sees his Jewish constituents? I get AOC, maybe like she may not have ever met an Orthodox Jew in her life in the district that she represents. I get that. She may not have ever met a visibly Jewish person, somebody with a yarmulke, somebody with a Jewish star on their neck, not a Jewish star tattoo. But what is it that, a guy thinks when he looks at a Hasidic person who is a descendant of survivors of the Holocaust, who lives in his district and espouses, and he's espousing as a council member positions that would end the Jewish people. And it's fascinating. By the way, as about a month ago, a month and a half, I think it's about a month ago now, the council announced this fake rule, garbage junk, that we were not going to be allowed to have posters of the hostages on our desks, which we'd had since November. And this had never been a policy to council that members couldn't hang things on their desk. They hang flags, they hang this, they hang a sign, position of the day, whatever it is. And all of a sudden, this movement came, you can't hang anything on your desks anymore. And this was clearly targeted at the Jewish members and our allies. We have great allies like Bob Holden, Joanne Ariola, Joe Borelli, who were hanging signs and pictures of the hostages. I had a picture of baby Kfir, Nam 11, other hostages whose families I had met during the last several months, hanging on my desk. And whenever I would meet a family member, I would tell them, I'm going to get a picture of your family and hang them on my desk. And I had about 5 or 6 of them hanging on my desk. And it was incredibly moving, I think, to people who see the council chambers to see that there are at least some of us who are willing to stand up for our family. But apparently that was too much. There were members of the council who could not bear to look at the face of baby Kfir, Bibas, every single day. So they announced this new thing that they were going to remove them. And then they sent, when we did it anyway, they sent the sergeants at arms, who are wonderful people, but they had to follow their orders, over to our desk to remove them. So, that's the kind of anti-Semitism we face in the council.
Is there any way to fight that, Ben? Because you said it doesn't make any sense. Why can't you have it on your desk?
Because the people who make the rules are anti-Semites. And at the end of the day, as much as they're anti-Semites and the rules are bad, I'm not the speaker. And that direction came from her. Who put that in her mind? Only she can answer.
Our guest, Councilman Kalman Yeger, running for assembly on primary day this coming Tuesday in Brooklyn. And we're going to continue our conversation with him. If you'd like to participate, again, our numbers are 212-769-1925, 212-769-1925. Email's a wonderful way to have some of your questions answered. zev@talklinenetwork.com, zev@talklinenetwork.com. Just got an email, and we were very sad to announce the passing of Torah Das's Mashgiach, Rav Moshe Wilson, Zecher Tzadik Lebracha. We don't have details about the Levi, about the burial, but as soon as we get that, we will announce that as well. Again, we're very sad to announce the Patira of Torah Das's Mashgiach, Rav Moshe Wilson, Zecher Tzadik Lebracha. We're going to be right back. Don't go away. Stay tuned.
Every time you make a healthy choice, you make your body and your mind happy. So what is healthy? Healthy is getting more sleep. It's also getting more exercise and eating well. It's seeing your doctor regularly. Healthy is even managing your stress in a way that's good for you. Healthy is being connected to others and free to live your best life. Tips and resources, or to learn more about your campaign for healthier, longer lives, visit nyc.gov/stayhealthy.
Sfassmans have been in the jewelry wholesale business for 40 years and opened their first store location in Crown Heights 12 years ago. They've gained a following well beyond Crown Heights and now open their second location in the heart of Surfside, Florida on Harding Avenue. They specialize in bridal, special occasion, custom, and everyday fine jewelry. Visit either of their 2 locations on Instagram or via their website, tjewelers.com. That's tjewelers.com.
Mazel tov. Looking to move but are skeptical of popular moving companies you find on Google? You should be. When booking a delicate move with a very large company, it's unlikely your stuff will get the tender love and care it deserves. Mazel Tov Moving and Storage is a small, family-owned and operated company that guarantees peace of mind and full coverage throughout the move. Whether you are moving a one-bedroom apartment or a 5-floor home, Mazel Tov Moving has the skills, manpower, and attention to detail your move deserves. With over 40 years in the business, it's no wonder people are talking about Mazel Tov. Give us a call at 1-800-USA-MOVE and schedule a free on-site estimate, or get a quote online at mazeltovmovers.com. That's 1-800-872-6683. Mazel Tov, but without the broken glass.
Here, Rubenstein at JCon Conferences, inviting you to attend our real estate summit on Tuesday, July 9th at the Hilton in Staten Island. For more information and to sign up for our early bird tickets, please visit attendjcon.com. That's attend, ATTEND, JCon, JCON.com. If you're in the real estate industry, whether it be management, construction, development, you don't want to miss this event. This is our 7th annual JCon real estate event, which will take place on Tuesday, July 9th at the Hilton in Staten Island. Please visit attendjcon.com to sign up for our early bird special.
Are you looking to create extra income for yourself or for your family? Well, Talkline Network is looking for creators who are looking to generate more money by getting involved in the lucrative world of selling radio and TV time, as well as commercials and podcasts. You can work part-time or full-time. We pay high commissions for those that are motivated to sell radio and TV time. If you're interested, please contact us at 212-769-1925, extension 100, 212-769-1925, extension 100, or info@talklinenetwork.com. Ideal for students, for retirees, for housewives, anybody looking to generate extra income. Again, that's 212-769-1925, extension 100, or info@talklinenetwork.com.
Mike Lindell here. And like you, I see our country being destroyed daily. We face massive economic issues. And I can tell you from firsthand experience, there are people in power who threaten the values that have made our country great. I've been a believer in gold and silver for a long time, and I've searched for years for a partner that shares my values. Well, Genesis Gold Group showed me how easy it is to protect your IRA, 401k, or your retirement with gold and silver. Their faith-driven approach to service and stewardship is one that stands out from the rest.
Call now for your free gold IRA investing guide. 800-965-1298. 800-965-1298. 800-965-1298. That's 800-965-1298.
Hi, everybody. This is Dov Shurin with a short news report on this Motzei Shabbos. And unfortunately, we have to tell you that on Erev Shabbos, 10 more soldiers were killed by some anti-tank missile or something. They're still investigating it. But we had a very big tragic Erev Shabbos. And there's some other news that I'll tell you about. But first, I want to tell you that we are sponsored, as always, by Quality Carpet at 1416 38th Street, between 14th and 15th Avenue, right outside of Borough Park. They have their own parking lot for customers only, and a great showroom with a lot of samples of carpet, flooring, and if you need something as important as carpeting, don't look anywhere else. Go to the King. Over 50 years in business, over 20 cruising trucks serving you in the tri-state area. Okay, So they're located, Quality Carpet, at 1416 38th Street between 14th and 15th Avenue. Telephone number 718-941-4200 for more information. 718-941-4200. And on Motzei Shabbos, we're also sponsored by the Gutnick collection of Sfarim, an amazing collection, of course, featuring the 5-volume or 1-volume Gutnick Chumash, and they have so much tremendous information. Torah's Menachem from the Lubavitcher Rebbe and many other Pirushim. And tonight I just want to tell you that, we read today about Pesach Sheni, right? You find yourself far away, meaning that you're not able to bring the carbon Pesach at the time that you bring it because you were exposed to a dead body or whatever, so you weren't able to bring the carbon Pesach. So the people came to Moshe and they said, we need a second chance. And Moshe received from Hashem a message that you can have a second chance, okay? Don't despair. If you don't reach the heights of others, you'll be able to visit the sanctuary and come closer and closer to having a second chance. The Rebbe writes this in a letter to somebody in 5/7/11. I was 2 years old, 5/7/11, and lets the person know about Pesach Sheni. It's just this is a must. There's an English translation which incorporates Rashi and so many more things. What I just told you is something called the last word, okay, from the Gutnick Chumash. If you want to get more information on the Gutnick Chumash or the other works of the Gutnick, they have also the Tanya, the Tehillim with the Rebbe's Pirush, all kinds of great stuff.
The preceding program is a paid advertisement. The opinions and views expressed therein do not necessarily reflect those of AM 620 WSNR or its management.
This is AM 620 WSNR, Jersey City.
Call Gutnick at 1-888-580-1900. That's 1-888-580-1900. Okay, also the soldier from Sicily was killed today. The hostage turned 20. There's still 120 hostages still in the hands of Hamas. A hostage turned 20, and his mother, or her mother said, my daughter, I want my daughter home. Trump is running for president, said Israel has the Iron Dome, why don't we? Then this person named Amnon Mukhtar, who has a stand in Petach Tikva, he was shot dead in Kalkilia. He was murdered. And also Reb Yitzchak Yosef, the chief Sephardic rabbi, was taken to the hospital to Hadassah in Keren today on Shabbos, and he was released at Motzei Shabbos and allowed to go home in good condition. Okay, so that's the latest news out of Israel. Okay, and remember, it was sponsored by the King of Carpeting, Quality Carpet, at 1416 38th Street between 14th and 15th Avenue, with their own parking lot for customers only. Quality Carpet is the king of carpeting. If you need carpeting or flooring, the only place to think of is Quality Carpet, okay? So I'm Dov Shurin. That's the latest from Israel. Love you all, everybody, and have a great week. I'm Dov Shurin. Shalom.
Thank you for listening to this episode of
Talkline with Zev Brenner, America's premier Jewish broadcast, on the air since 1981. Please call us with your questions and comments at 212-769-1925.
Eric, we're back. Our guest, Councilman Yeger, Councilman Kalman Yeger, but soon to be, if he wins the primary in the election, Assemblyman Kalman Yeger. We're looking at some important issues. I know in past shows, all politics is local. At the end of the day, you have to live with your constituents. I know garbage was a big issue, one of the programs we had. Is that still a big issue with the sanitation department issuing fines for homeowners?
Well, fines for homeowners is when I mean there was one call I think or that people were someone was asking about they got a summons because in front of their home wasn't cleaned, and a lot of people don't know that you have to actually clean in front of your home into 1.5 feet into the gutter. So you know that it's not something that we can resolve other than through education. It's something that people have to do. What we have done, and this is something that I've done for the last 6 years in my district, is I've put about $250,000 a year into a private company and organization that goes around guys with the baskets and the brooms and the shovels, and they go up and down the commercial strip and on 13th, 16th, 18th Avenue, 60th Street, Coney Island Avenue, Avenue M, Avenue J, Avenue P, Kings Highway, and they sweep. And it's something that is a service that the sanitation department does not do. And they're sweeping in front of people's stores, in front of people's businesses. It's something to A, keep the neighborhood clean, and B, to prevent people from getting fined. There was a bill in the council just about 3 or 4 weeks ago to raise fines for not sweeping in front of your store, and I was one of very few people who voted no on that. Zev, as you know, I have the highest number of no votes of any member of the council. I talk about it all the time, and I always tell people it's not because I'm disagreeable. I'm actually very nice. It's just that if you would pay attention to the nonsense and lunacy that this city council passes, it's easy to see why a guy like me from the land of normal would vote no pretty frequently.
BC writes, who is running against you in the primary and the general election?
You know me, I never talk about people running against me. It's me and the name that's not me.
Okay, and you have a Republican opponent as well?
No.
No, okay, so just in the primary. Okay. I want to talk about congestion pricing. It's been somehow shelved, but now that it's been shelved, you have all kinds of people saying, well, it's good for New York. It would reduce traffic. It would reduce pollution. And would generate money. And now the Second Avenue subway extension is going to be delayed. To me, it seems like a no-brainer. Like people say London is a case example of where it's working. I've been reading that London's not been working so well.
Oh, not working in London. Look, Zev, very easy. You know, I'm a straight shooter. It gets me in trouble a lot of times. They are liars. They're liars. The people who push this congestion pricing thing are liars. And the proof of the lies is that the Second Avenue subway was already funded for the work that they needed to do. Congestion pricing revenue isn't coming tomorrow. Even if congestion pricing was turned on, it wasn't happening tomorrow. So how are they already canceling the work on the Second Avenue subway, which, by the way, took them 50 years to do in the first instance? So to get it as far as it is right now, they are liars. I was on New York 1 2 weeks ago, and I read the numbers out. There's $700 million a year in evaded fares on the subways and the buses alone. Another $50 million a year in evaded fares on the bridges and tunnels. $750 million a year is 3/4 of the amount of revenue anticipated to bring in from congestion pricing. The fix is simple. The fix is simple. Make people pay for the service that they're stealing. This is not rocket science. The MTA just announced about 2 weeks ago that they had paid the company that they paid to do the Omni. You know, the credit card, when you tap it, it's supposed to let you in. You don't have to buy a MetroCard anymore. They had paid them hundreds of millions of dollars a year. They are over budget, overextended on time. It was originally supposed to be ready by 2020. Now the anticipated ready date is 25, and for the Long Island Railroad, it's 27. And now, after all this investment, guess what? The MTA just announced that they're looking for a new company. They're canceling the contract with the existing company. Hundreds of millions of dollars flushed down the toilet. This is an entity that never sees a reason to clean up its own act because it is the beast that everybody will feed. Because God help us if the mass transit system in New York shuts down. And the MTA knows it, so they can continue sucking off the generosity of New Yorkers who keep on funding, and knowing that they never have to answer for their own misdeeds, misappropriation, mismanagement. and basically a garbage agency.
So how does this change? Because as you pointed out, and it's a known fact that they lose, as you said, $750 million worth of business due to stealing, people not paying, evading fears. They have so much mismanagement and waste. Why get extra money from congestion pricing when they probably would squander that as well when the money is there? They just haven't taken advantage. They're wasting it.
Well, of course they would squander it. They're jokesters, and they're awful at what they do. And when you look at what's going on in the subways, there was a murder yesterday on the subway. There were attacks today. Three people were stabbed on the subway today. But yesterday, right before Shabbos, I read about a murder. There are attacks. There's violence. There's filth. Disgustingness on the subway, and let alone the hate crimes that people from our community see on the subway. Just a week ago, people were riding on the subway, making an announcement in a subway car. They thought it was a big joke. Raise your hand if you're a Zionist. Get off the subway now. This is your chance to get off. Ha, ha, ha. Right? Very funny, except if you happen to be on that subway car and you're a Jew. Like, what if a guy was on the subway car wearing a yarmulke? What were they going to do to him? So the problem with why congestion pricing doesn't work is that because people don't have an option. They need to exit their families from the subways, which is filthy, disgusting, hateful, crime-ridden, and nobody is doing anything to fix it. And thankfully, and this is not the praise you think it is, but thankfully the governor stepped in and stopped the congestion pricing. And why do I say thankful? Number one, because congestion pricing is stopped. But number two is she made it very clear that the governor of New York State owns the transit system in New York State. No two ways about it. This is directly on the governor's desk to fix the MTA. And if the MTA can't fix itself, fire the people who are there and put in new people.
Will the governor do that? And the question is, congestion pricing, she said, was shelved. Does that mean it can come back at any time?
Well, the law that allows congestion pricing, or in some interpretations requires it, still exists. It hasn't been repealed. But the fact that the governor is able to say it is not happening and it was supposed to happen 7 days from now, I think that's proof that the governor has the ability to influence an enormous amount of control. We had a great head of the MTA who was really on his way to fixing it, Andy Byford, a number of years ago. He's not there anymore. There have been people, Dick Ravitch, for example, who once ran the MTA. There have been people who know how to run the system and do it well, and who are take no nonsense people. And I think that if you look at the bloat, the waste, the mismanagement, the overruns, the delays, the fail to implement, and the very basic lack of public safety, it's very clear that the MTA board that officially runs the MTA needs to be completely rethunk in the way that the appointments are made, and the governor makes most of the appointments in the MTA.
Now, they say even though congestion pricing has been shelved, the cameras, the infrastructure is already there. So in essence, they can really, I won't call it spy, but maybe I should call it spy. And New York is coming in. Now you have extra cameras. And what does that mean for the general public?
Well, I come from a world where I've always thought that cameras on a street make sense. I have funded security cameras in my neighborhood. As has my predecessor, as my colleague Chaim Deutsch has done, and Councilman Nina Vernikov. We always, and former Assemblyman Dov Hikind as well, we've always thought that cameras in areas are good because it gives us the ability to actually catch the bad guys. I'm not saying that we can police by cameras in the sense that we can have, law enforcement watching cameras, watching, video screens all day and looking for where the crime is, because I don't think that's realistic. But at the very least, if the cameras are out there and they're able to be utilized for purposes of crime detection, crime investigation, I'm not sure that that's necessarily a bad thing.
No, I hear you. The extra set of eyes. And one of the issues that keep getting calls about, and I've witnessed it myself, and I'm not sure if it could be done for either the council or the assembly, is that we're seeing some crazy driver. When you're driving on the highway, you see, since COVID, crazy driver just zigzagging out of lanes at incredible speed, just an accident waiting to happen. And it's something which is ongoing. Every time I drive, I see, you probably see the same thing. Is there anything that could be done for public safety to solve this problem?
So this is where I separate from the camera situation, because on these things, I actually don't believe that the red light cameras and the speed cameras are the way to go on these things. All those do is send you, if they catch your license plate, which is a big if, because a lot of these cars either have fake plates, paper tags, junk plates, or no plates at all, or they're covered up their plates. If they catch you, then they send you a $50 ticket in the mail a month later. I think the way to do it is enforcement on the streets. There was actually an operation today where the police department was on the bridges. I don't remember exactly which bridge, but I did see it tonight on Twitter that they had operations pulling over cars with fake paper license plates, which exploded, ballooned between the pandemic time and now. It's really Hefker. I mean, people think they can do whatever they want, and you can't. And I think having cops on the side of the highway and put them on the side of the belt, and when the car comes along at 70 miles an hour, go get them. I think is what makes sense. There is no excuse to drive like a maniac on a highway. It's not to say that, if you're driving on Ocean Parkway and you're going at 36 miles an hour with traffic, you should get a ticket in the mail. That's not speeding. That's just normal driving. But the guy driving 60 miles an hour, zipping U-turns and donuts on private streets, vroom vrooming with the altered engines and that they have just to make extra noise for no good reason, those guys should be pulled over, their car should be impounded, and they ought to be thrown in jail for a little bit of time.
No, absolutely, because it's a reckless driving, and God forbid it could be an accident waiting to happen. Before I let you go, also crime. It's just getting out of hand, and you mentioned the anti-Semitism, but then you also mentioned what happened on the subways. But what could be done, because we have no bail policy, and we have other issues out there where people want to prosecute, including Alvin Bragg in New York City. In fact, the Columbia demonstrators, the pro-Hamas demonstrators, the charges were dropped against them. They're criminals. They invaded a building. They had hammers doing damage to the university, and all the charges dropped. So this sends a message that lawlessness is okay. What can be done to correct the situation, because it's out of hand?
So first of all, the important thing to remember is that district attorneys are elected. So as the saying goes, you get what you vote for, and the people of Manhattan voted for Alvin Bragg. I don't wish him on any community, but this seems to be what the voters of Manhattan wanted. The governor can remove him if she chooses to. That's up to her. The legislature and the council don't have any authority, any oversight over the district attorney, but this is what people voted for in Manhattan, at least. You have district attorneys all across the city, all across the state. I don't think that they would be giving a free pass to the terrorists of Columbia as did Mr. Bragg. I do think that this is part of that culture of Hefker, of you can do what you want, of don't worry about it, set something on fire, there's no accountability. You want to block a street, you want to block a highway, you want to storm a building, you want to encamp somewhere, no problem, do whatever you want, it's okay. I think that movement of has gained footing because they've seen the response from law enforcement. As the saying goes, those of us who are fans of Law and Order, the police investigate the crimes, the district attorneys prosecute the offenders. All the police can do is make an arrest. At the end of the day, it's the district attorney's decision what to do after that. And if the DAs are not going to do their job, we can beg the police to make those arrests, but it goes for nothing.
Joseph writes, none of the lights are synchronized for the speed limit, which add travel time and congestion.
Well, that seems to be a very specific and also not 100% accurate, because there are a lot of lights that are synchronized. So if he's seeing a specific place that doesn't have a synchronized light, he can call or email my office on Monday, and we're happy to look at the location. If it's in my district, I'm happy to do it. If it's not, we'll refer him to the right council member's office. But synchronization of lights is something that DOT does. So if there's an area where he's seeing that lights are not synchronized, sometimes it's actually just because they're broken. Sometimes it's deliberate, but let's find out where it is before. There's no one size fits all answer to that, because lights typically are synchronized to meet the 25-mile-an-hour limit.
Councilman Kalman Yeger, who would like to be Assemblyman Kalman Yeger. The primary is on Tuesday. We have to get people out to vote. And my final question to you is that it's too late to register people to vote for the primary, but what can we be doing more in our community to register more people to vote, including getting yeshivas to have a voter registration form given to each student that turns 18?
Look, I'll actually one-up you on that. Given to each student when they turn 17, because in New York, you can now register when you're 17, can't vote till you're 18, but this way, your registration is in effect on your birthday at your 18th birthday, so that in case you're actually there's an election during that window of time when it's too late to register for an election, you're already registered. So we can register people at 17 years old. And there is no excuse for anybody to not be registered. And I meet, every day I meet people who are like, is it too late to register? Is it too late to register? The answer is yes. But think about the deadline to register was last weekend. It used to be several months before an election. The legislature, one of the things that they've done that were wise was push it as close to the election as possible without actually interfering with the election. They can't make it the day of the election, because if they register you on the day of the election, how do they know you're not registered somewhere else? They have to actually, there's a system of checking. But they did it up until the 15th, and we were able to get people registered to vote in some instances. But yes, there are people that aren't registered. Yeshivas, schools, shuls, we have an achrayas to vote, and the only way to vote is to register. It is so easy to get kids to do it. It can go out with the registration packet that gets sent out next month by every single yeshiva. It can get sent out to every parent. This is an easy way to register. You could register people online. I sent during the last 3 months, I used to send people a link. They got back to me. The registration took 2 minutes. You don't need any. You just need to fill in a couple of pieces of information and sign your name on the screen and send it in. It's so easy to do.
So how do we get the yeshivas to implement the system?
I think that organizations like the Aguda does ask yeshivas to do that. I have asked yeshivas all the time. Any yeshiva that I've interacted with, when they, complain about anything, the first thing I say is like, what are you doing to make sure that your student body is registered to vote? I will tell you that in the district that I currently represent, in the Hasidic areas in Borough Park, the Moistus are very, very good at making sure that the Bachram and the girls are registered at the proper age when they're allowed to be, because there is always a heavy effort to turn out to vote in Borough Park, and they're very, very good at it. Broadly speaking, the yeshiva community, not going to say they're not doing well. Everybody can always do better on this topic, including you and I, Zev, including you and I. No reason that we shouldn't have walked around shul today, and anybody who can't vote on Tuesday because they're not registered, or they have a kid who just turned 18, we know somebody's graduating. Hey, is your kid registered? Because it's something that people don't think of.
No, absolutely. And it's also for adults. Too, because you go around, not just for the children, you'd be surprised how many adults are not registered to vote.
I would not be surprised.
But a lot of people tell people that there's a voter registration issue. They go, oh, no, it's not true. I go, yes, it is true. Look at the numbers. I've seen surveys before that it's the numbers could be 30, 40% or more that are not registered to vote, forgetting about those that are registered and don't vote. So I think we have to.
Yeah, Zev, I mean, that's the bigger problem is, but as part of creating new voters to come out and vote, our bigger problem is that we have existing voters who just simply don't vote. The funny thing, and I talk about this all the time, because I don't want to ever discourage anybody from voting, but I'm going to say the following with that disclaimer. We will see in November lines around the block. It's the presidential election. I must vote to elect the president. God bless you. But the likelihood of your vote counting and mattering in New York for the presidential election, it doesn't matter which candidate you're voting for, is meaningless. New York is a one-party state for the presidential election.
Even though the latest polls show that Donald Trump is 8% behind. I'm just saying what the latest polls show.
Yeah, and by the way, like I said at the beginning, not discouraging anybody from coming out to vote. You must vote. But typically and historically, the presidential election has been, at least in New York, a fait accompli for the Democratic Party. So whether you're lean Democrat, lean Republican, undecided what you want to do, that's the election they're coming out in. But to choose your mayor, your governor, your assemblyman, your congressman, your councilman, where is your turnout? in the primaries, which typically decide who's going to win, where is the turnout? Why aren't you coming out? Oh, I can't. That didn't happen. I'm packing. It's summertime. I don't have time. Those excuses don't work anymore because there are so many ways to vote. You can ask for a ballot. And you can't do it. It's too late now. But you could have asked for a ballot in advance to get mailed to you. No excuse. They could have just sent you up. If you requested it up until last weekend, they would have sent you a ballot at home. Easy peasy.
Yeah, so you don't have to go to the voting booth. You can just vote by the mail.
And you can, that's the point. If you don't have to actually go vote, they'll send you the ballot. People don't like voting by mail, no problem. The polls open for a week before the election. You're not going to be here on election day. You have the week before to do it, but you have a month before to get your ballot in the mail. So there's so many ways to do it. You know, can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink.
If you just had a little like Brandon, some more emails coming into you. So let's take a break. We'll take some more phone calls, emails. Councilman Kalman Yeger is our guest, running for assembly on primary day. Again, our numbers are 212-769-1925, 212-769-1925. Email zev@talklinenetwork.com. We're going to be right back. Don't go away. Stay tuned. You're listening to the Talkline Network.
Fossmans have been in the jewelry wholesale business for 40 years and opened their first store location in Crown Heights 12 years ago. They've gained a following well beyond Crown Heights and now open their second location in the heart of Surfside, Florida on Harding Avenue. They specialize in bridal, special occasion, custom, and everyday fine jewelry. Visit either of their two locations on Instagram or via their website, tjewelers.com. That's tjewelers.com.
Every time you make a healthy choice, you make your body and your mind happy. So what is healthy? Healthy is getting more sleep. It's also getting more exercise and eating well. It's seeing your doctor regularly. Healthy is even managing your stress in a way that's good for you. Healthy is being connected to others and free to live your best life. For tips and resources or to learn more about your city's campaign for healthier, longer lives, visit nyc.gov/stayhealthy.
Here, Rubenstein at JCon is inviting you to attend our real estate summit on Tuesday, July 9th at the Hilton in Staten Island. For more information and to sign up for our early bird tickets, please visit attendjcon.com. That's attend, ATTEND, JCon, JCON.com. If you're in the real estate industry, whether it be management, construction, development, you don't want to miss this event. This is our 7th annual JCon real estate event, which will take place on Tuesday, July 9th at the Hilton in Staten Island. Please visit attendjcon.com to sign up for our early bird special.
Boss, we need to rebrand ASAP. Can't be busy with that. Our website is so outdated. I can't be busy with it. What about social media appearances?
I can't be busy with that.
So what's your plan?
My plan is Media Depot, known for top quality affordability and efficiency. Boy, will they be busy for me. Call them now on 855-BUSY-BIZ, 855-287-9, or visit media.com. Remember, 855-BUSY-BIZ. We be busy for you to be able to be busy.
Call Media Depot now.
Media Depot, 855-BUSY-BIZ.
Tired of driving the same old clunker? Dreaming of a brand new ride, but worried your credit score won't cooperate? Stuck in a lease you don't want? Don't throw in the towel just yet. At Linden Car Leasing, we understand life throws curveballs. We specialize in helping folks like you cruise off in style, regardless of credit history. That's right. At Linden, we work hard to find the perfect car for you, whether it's a sleek Chevrolet powered by legendary Dresner engines or any other make and model your heart desires. Wait, we can even help you if you have a complicated lease from another company. Consider it our specialty. We'll navigate the paperwork jungle and get you into a new lease you'll love. Linden Car Leasing offers fantastic deals on all makes and models, with service so good it'll make you want to sing. Don't wait. Call Linden Car Leasing today and get ready to drive off into the sunset in your dream car. Call 908-223-5209. That's 908-223-5209. Online at lindencarleasing.com. That's Linden Car Leasing, where getting a great deal is always a smooth ride.
Mazel tov. Looking to move but are skeptical of popular moving companies you find on Google? You should. When booking a delicate move with a very large company, it's unlikely your stuff will get the tender love and care it deserves. Mazel Tov Moving and Storage is a small, family-owned and operated company that guarantees peace of mind and full coverage throughout your move. Whether you are moving a one-bedroom apartment or a 5-floor home, Mazel Tov Moving has the skills, manpower, and attention to detail your move deserves. With over 40 years in the business, it's no wonder people are talking about Mazel Tov. Give us a call at 1-800-USA-MOVE and schedule a free on-site estimate, or get a quote online at mazeltovmovers.com. That's 1-800-872-6683. Mazel Tov, but without the broken glass.
Thank you for listening to this episode of
Talkline with Zev Brenner, America's premier Jewish broadcast, on the air since 1981. Please call us with your questions and comments at 212-769-1925.
And we're back. As let's say Assemblyman Kalman, but he's running for assembly. He's currently Councilman Kalman Yeger, like to be assemblyman, running in the primary on Tuesday here in New York City. AI writes, Shavua Tov, Zev, great show as usual. Please only ask Kalman to address the biker menace. 1, they jump lights. 2, they ride the wrong way. When will the council finally do something about it? Thanks so much.
It's a great question. I have a bill together with a bunch of colleagues of mine, Councilman Bob Holden, Joe Borelli, Councilwoman Ina Vernikov, and a number of others that would require registration. And my state senator, Senator Simcha Felder, has the same bill up in Albany. You know, the left doesn't want bike registration. The left doesn't want regulation, and the reason is for the same reason that they don't want any kind of enforcement of anything. They like chaos. They like anarchy. They love the streets to be a mess. It's part of their insane political viewpoint that there ought to be no rules. That's the socialist viewpoint. So, you know, we're pushing. Unfortunately, every single day we see chaos. We see an accident. I don't call it an accident. You know, they like to call a car accident car violence. When I see an accident caused by a bike, I call it the bike violence. And that's what it is. You see them zipping up and down on sidewalks. There's, you know, if you're a driver, you see how they zip in and out of traffic. They think they're invincible. They're not. They're much smaller than our cars, and they put their lives in danger. And they put everybody else in danger. We have pushed to try to get registration done in the council. We have pushed to get rid of the batteries that they use to make them unlawful. There are so many things that we've tried to do in the council to address these bike things. And the hard left that runs the city council just simply doesn't allow it.
Well, the batteries for some of these e-bikes are terrible. They really cause so many fires and deaths too.
They're killing people, those batteries. And it took death and destruction in the Bronx for the council really to get behind starting to address it in a real way. And until that happened, they were just putting their head in the sand like ostriches and ignoring the problem. And because God forbid we regulate the bikes, but whatever will the deliveristas do? And that's always their theme. It's all about the deliveristas and, you know, the poor people who need. But, you know, it's incredible because it's not just about bikes. It's the mopeds. It's the motorbikes. It's really dangerous vehicles that are on 2 wheels that are zipping in and out. And these were enabled by people in government for the last several years. They built them lanes. They didn't protect those lanes. These bikes are not even using the lanes that they built for them because they're in the regular lanes and they're on the sidewalks.
So is there enough council members that are willing to go on record? And you mentioned the craziness, but there are enough council members that will support such legislation that you've been working on, for example, dealing with these bikers?
Well, look, Zev, if you're looking for me to be the guy who's going to tell you that the City Council of New York is going to one day lapse into a place where they have common sense as a body, I'm not going to lie to you. No. Do I believe that as time goes on and there's more and more death and destruction, at some point the council's hands will be forced? I am hopeful, but I don't want to see the death and destruction happen in order to get them to a place like that. We had a press conference last week some of my colleagues gathered on the steps of City Hall together with advocates. They renamed the registration bill after somebody who lost their lives, Priscilla Law, we call it now, after somebody who lost their life to a a criminal on a bike, two-wheel violence. So this is real. This is affecting families. And by the way, we only read the stories where somebody, God forbid, passes away from getting killed by one of these things. But our friend, yours and mine, Rabbi Michael Miller, formerly the JCRC, was I have no other way to describe it other than attacked by a two-wheel menace to the point where he was in the hospital. He needs a refuah shalema, and he broke a leg, had severe injuries, and these are real life stories. People we know, people we don't know. It happens every single day all across the city. It has to be done, and the council needs to get its brain behind doing what we have been pushing for a very, very long time.
Another email coming in. The city bikes are also another menace.
Well, they're not separate from the problem. It doesn't matter if you own your own bike or if you're taking a bike that's a rental. A bike is a bike, and if you're driving it like a maniac and you're hurting people, you're doing the same damage. It really doesn't matter who owns it. These are the same problems.
Let's go to Alex. Alex in Brooklyn, you have a question for Kalman Yeger. Go ahead, Alex.
Yeah, hi, Zev. Thanks for taking the call. And hi, Mr. Yeger. I want to ask you about the bikes thing and the scooters and the e-bikes, because I see it in a way as a positive thing. I think it has to be under control to some extent. I think people that aren't adults shouldn't be able to ride these bikes, but I don't think we should make it difficult for people to have these bikes, because if it becomes more popular, it ends up reducing traffic. Right.
Well, first of all, I disagree with you that it reduces traffic. I think it adds to traffic. We have a policy difference, you and I. I respect your opinion, but it's not the case. I think it causes more traffic. But we're not saying reduce. What we're saying is register so that they can be tracked for when they do something, and regulate and ensure. Just like if I get behind the wheel of my car, God forbid something happens, the person who it happened to has recourse. They know that there's a place to go. They'll know who did it. They'll know that I have insurance. And it's got to be the same for the bikers. They shouldn't be able to just do whatever they want to do and leave death and destruction in their wake, and the victim has no recourse.
Does that answer?
You shouldn't need a license, right?
Well, why shouldn't you? What's the matter with getting a license for having an electronic vehicle?
I'm sure there are a lot of people that don't have, and I think for the people who don't have a license, aren't there any benefits from people having these bikes?
There are a lot of people who don't have. There are a lot of people
so encouraging it would make it more popular, and I think it would decrease eventually. You'd see a decrease in traffic. People are mostly illegal immigrants, but if it's regular citizens, and people living in Borough Park or Flatbush, you would see a decrease in traffic, and it would be way easier for people to get around than having wait from one block to the next 10 minutes.
When the method of transporting your family of 8 on a bike is invented, you let me know. I don't agree that in Borough Park, my neighborhood, which is incredibly congested, if one light is out of sync, the entire neighborhood shuts down. If one construction is happening on one corner, the entire neighborhood shuts down. There's no room for anything.
40% of the people in the cars are driving by themselves. I think a huge percentage, I wouldn't say most, but I'd say a nice percentage of people that are driving cars, if they would feel comfortable and it would be a popular thing and regular to be using an e-bike and, that method, they wouldn't be getting cars. And in a case where they would have to transport their family, then they would, get a car service instead of taking out a lease and spending way more money.
Okay.
And I think it would be beneficial, and for the environment as well. That's not the big thing, but traffic for sure, it's terrible in the traffic.
Appreciate your point of view on this. I'm just saying that, I have a little experience in my community, and I honestly do not believe that it would reduce traffic. And, recognizing that whatever the percentage that you said of the people who are in their cars by themselves, the Rebbe going to yeshiva from Borough Park to Flatbush or Flatbush to Borough Park is not getting on a bike to do it. It's nice to think that would be
the norm. Then yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah, okay.
I appreciate your phone call. I'm going to take I'm going to take an email question. This question is not inappropriate and politics related. Andy Byford told me in 2018 that the MTA is facing a very tight financial situation and they needed more money to modernize the signal system in the subway. For that, you need funding. Congestion pricing will get it. If Kalman wants to praise Andy Byford, he should know that Andy Byford was actually he's a great leader from London who supports congestion pricing.
Well, first of all, I subscribe to the Ed Koch point of view that I never agree with somebody on 10 out of 10 issues, because Ed Koch used to say, if you do, you should see a psychiatrist. I think on balance, Andy Byford was a good manager of the MTA system. I don't agree with him on everything. I don't agree with anybody on anything. And I don't believe anybody agrees with me on everything that I say. He definitely supported congestion pricing. I do agree with him that the MTA does need more resources. I will say that the difference between 2018 and today is transit fares and tolls have both gone up, as have fare evasions. Those things have gone together, and fare evasions have gone up not just because people who can't afford the fare are not paying the fare, but people who can afford the fare are not paying. When I get on the subway, I see plenty of people who don't look like they're hungry for the next meal, jumping the turnstile or walking through an open gate because they know nothing's going to happen to them when they do it.
Let's go to Jacob in Brooklyn. Your question for Kalman Yeger. Go ahead, Jacob.
Yeah, hi. I'm wondering if there's any way to reverse what was done by the city under de Blasio, where they took away lanes, created pedestrian plazas, and they in fact created more congestion by doing that, putting arrows where you can turn and where you can't, basically taking away freedom for drivers, which creates more congestion. And this whole thing with bicycle lanes, which shouldn't exist, because the roads were made for cars, not for bicycles or scooters. Also, tangentially, there's also a problem we find in Brooklyn where there are many kids from yeshiva who are on scooters, and they're really not very safe, and they go in and out of traffic and on sidewalks. Is there any way to reach their parents through the yeshivot and tell them that there should be another way for their kids to be transported?
So Zev, you see, this is a very different opinion from the previous call from Alex, and I happen to this caller's opinion is more aligned with mine. The scooters issue with the kids. I'll take your last part first. Rav Bender, Rosh Hashiva of Dachain in Far Rockaway, I think 2 or 3 years ago, issued a ban. Did not allow kids to come to yeshiva on the scooters anymore. Sakanas Nefashos, I mean, it was mentioned. He was very clear about that, from what I recall. There's no question that today, kids are using this means of transportation that were not used. I wasn't raised in the 1800s on a horseback, but these were not used when I was going to yeshiva. And I don't know why it's necessary today that for kids to do this. I think that parents need to. They can't outsource the management of the upbringing of their children. The parents are buying the scooters. They need to make sure that the kids are A, using them safely, and B, obviously wearing helmets. I give out thousands of helmets a year, every single year, in one of the parks in my district. Beg parents, please don't let your kid get on a bike or a scooter if they're not wearing a helmet. Get a new one every year because they degrade with time. These are the things that we can do. I do agree with you that the proliferation of removing traffic lanes is what has caused congestion. And if they were done based and removing streets from usage, like was done, for example, on Church Avenue between Borough Park and Flatbush, as it leads into Beverly and other places, I've opposed them in my neighborhood. There are no closed off streets in my district since I've taken office, no matter how many the Department of Transportation wanted to do. Me and my community board and my colleagues in office, Senator Felder and Assemblyman Eichenstein, opposed them from since I've been in office until today, and we've, Baruch Hashem, been successful in keeping these closed off streets from being built here.
That answer your question?
It does, but what about the dedicated bus lane? They also create congestion.
So the one on Kings Highway. So again, I'm not the boss of the whole city. I'm not even the boss of my neighborhood, but I have some influence. And the ones in our neighborhood that specifically are Kings Highway, and Kings Highway, we fought very, very hard to get it to number one, not be a 24/7 bus lane, which we were rejected on. But number two is we were able to get it removed in some parts of Kings Highway in the single-digit streets where there simply aren't two lanes. And that bus lane was really hurting businesses and hurting traffic and hurting. It's a problem. There's no question about it. There are places around the city that, as I travel, that I see bus lanes, and I know that they just don't make sense. But I don't have the influence over there to, the local legislator to influence what somebody else is doing in their neighborhood. There are members of the council, assembly, senate, local leaders who want these things in their district. By the way, in some places, a bus lane does work if it's done right, but a bus lane doesn't work where a bus lane doesn't work is, for example, on Kings Highway, making it 24/7, because there can never be an excuse for why at 2 o'clock in the morning nobody can travel in this bus lane. Just doesn't make any sense.
So anyway, can I just ask something about Kings Highway?
Go right ahead.
There's this 5-year construction project where they are they're just taking up many parking spaces, and they have all this equipment. They're really messing everything up for motorists, and a lot of people, they come home and they have no place to park.
I'll let Kalman respond to you.
This is happening slightly outside of my district. It's happening in the 20s. I assume that's what you're referring to. It's not in my council district, so I wasn't told about the project before it was happening. What I've seen is what you've described. The problem with these construction projects is that when they have to happen, the construction companies, the city has to have a place to put this equipment. They can't take it home every night. It's got to be in the neighborhood, and these are long-term projects that hopefully when they're done will improve the neighborhood. In some places it's because they're replacing gas line, and in other places it's because they're replacing the medians, which is the part that separates the main lanes from the service lanes. But when they were planning this project, my office, myself, we weren't consulted because it's outside my district.
Anyway, thank you for your phone call. A good call. Okay, we're going to take a short commercial break, our final stretch with Kalman Yeger right after these messages, and continue taking some more of your phone calls, 212-769-1925. You want to email us, zev@talklinenetwork.com, zev@talklinenetwork.com. We'll be right back.
Looking to move or skeptical of popular moving companies you find on Google? You should be. When booking a delicate move with a very large company, it's unlikely your stuff will get the tender love and care it deserves. Mazel Tov Moving and Storage is a small, family-owned and operated company that guarantees peace of mind and full coverage throughout the move. Whether you are moving a one-bedroom apartment or a 5-floor home, Mazel Tov Moving has the skills, manpower, and attention to detail your move deserves. With over 40 years in the business, it's no wonder people are talking about Mazel Tov. Give us a call at 1-800-USA-MOVE and schedule a free on-site estimate, or get a quote online at mazeltovmovers.com. That's 1-800-872-6683. Mazel Tov, but without the broken glass.
Here, Rubenstein at JCon Conferences, inviting you to attend our real estate summit on Tuesday, July 9th at the Hilton in Staten Island. For more information and to sign up for our early bird tickets, please visit attendjcon.com. That's attend, ATTEND, JCon, JCON.com. If you're in the real estate industry, whether it be management, construction, development, you don't want to miss this event. This is our 7th annual JCon real estate event, which will take place on Tuesday, July 9th at the Hilton in Staten Island. Please visit attendjcon.com to sign up for our early bird special.
Sfassmans have been in the jewelry wholesale business for 40 years and opened their first store location in Crown Heights 12 years ago. They've gained a following well beyond Crown Heights and now open their second location in the heart of Surfside, Florida on Harding Avenue. They specialize in bridal, special occasion, custom, and everyday fine jewelry. Visit either of their 2 locations on Instagram or via their website, tjewelers.com. That's tjewelers.com.
Are you looking to create extra income for yourself or for your family? Well, Talkline Network is looking for go-getters who are looking to generate more money by getting involved in the lucrative world of selling radio and TV time, as well as commercials and podcasts. You can work part-time or full-time. We pay high commissions for those that are motivated to sell radio and TV time. If you're interested, please contact us at 212-769-1925, extension 100, 212-769-1925, extension 100, or info@talklinenetwork.com. I deal with students, for retirees, for anybody looking to generate extra income. Again, that's 212-769-1925, extension 100, or info@talklinenetwork.com.
Every time you make a healthy choice, you make your body and your mind healthy. So what is healthy? Healthy is getting more sleep. It's also getting more exercise and eating well. It's seeing your doctor regularly. Healthy is even managing your stress in a way that's good for you. Healthy is being connected to others and free to live your best life. For tips and resources or to learn more about New York City's campaign for healthier, longer lives, visit nyc.gov/stayhealthy.
You're listening to Talkline with Zev Brenner, America's premier Jewish broadcast, on the air since 1981.
And now, here's your host.
Okay, welcome back to the program. I'm Zev Brenner, and the phones are blazing. We're going to get to see your phone calls. If you're on the line, we're gonna get to you. Okay, so just hold on. Okay. Let's go to Brooklyn, Borough Park. Ira in Borough Park. You're on with Councilman Yeger. Go ahead.
Allow water pollution. We wouldn't allow air pollution. Is there anything that can be done about the excessive noise pollution, especially with the drivers blasting their horns?
Well, that's part of something that would typically be enforced by the police, and the only way to really do it is if a cop sees somebody blasting their horn, they stop them and give them a ticket. Unfortunately, I'm going to be straight true to like I always am. It's not a realistic ask from the police department to stand around on street corners waiting for people to honk their horns. This is an achrayus thing that a community like ours, people need to have achrayus on themselves. They have to know that this is something that is not a mental thing to do. That's not something that you can really teach. If they can't hop it on their own, I'm not really sure how we can teach it to them.
But aren't there laws in the books regarding noise pollution?
You're not allowed to. You're not allowed to honk your horn except for safety. The thing is that you and I are drivers, right? We know that the light turns green and you're 6 cars behind the guy at the front, and he didn't immediately start driving. So now the 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th are leaning on their horn for the entirety of the block until they get through the light. They're just leaning on their horn. We see it all the time, and it's not just in Brooklyn. It's everywhere. It's Manhattan, especially. People need to be decent. That's a decency thing. You can't legislate decency. People just have to be decent.
Did that answer your question?
Oh, not the way I wanted it answered, but thank you very much. Be well.
All right, thank you for your phone call. Okay, you can't.
No, I was a straight shooter. He was a straight shooter. I mean,
he was telling his opinion. Yeah.
What he would have liked was, and I don't blame him, but the answer he would have liked is if you honk your horn for more than 1 second, we're going to pull you out of your car. We're going to arrest you and throw the car in the garbage.
But that's really the whole question. Do we need more regulation? I think we're overregulated, right?
Well, look, I mean, there's certain things that certainly we're overregulated on. We did a bill in the council on on creating noise cameras. And those noise cameras would be placed, let's say, on a place like Ocean Parkway, where a guy is driving, revving his engine, like I talked about before, with the souped up muffler that's, doing the backfiring that sounds like gunshots. And if it hits a certain decibel level, a picture would be snapped, and that guy would get a ticket in the mail, just like a red light or a speed cam ticket. And I think that's wise to do things like that. The caller was asking about specifically on car honking. I mean, I think that's just something that you have to be realistic about what we can demand of the police department.
No, absolutely. What can be done? Because a lot of police officers are retiring and we're not having enough officers to replace them because they're frustrated with being a police officer in New York City.
A big problem. We are losing our best. And when I say our best, you have to imagine if somebody starts in the police department at 22 years old, which is a certain possibility, when they hit 20, they're allowed to retire and actually begin collecting their pension. So at 42 years old, they can walk out with half their lives ahead of us, getting a city pension, and they can even go on to another department. We are losing cops after 5 years who go on to other departments for a variety of reasons, not just because of the pay, but also because of the attitude of New York City's government, specifically the legislative branches, about cops. I mean, I serve in a body where there are an enormous number of members who hate cops. There's no other way to say it. They hate the police, except when they need them.
Right.
Until then, they hate the police.
Let's go to Maishi in Brooklyn. Yes, Maishi, are
I
you there?
just want to tell you something.
Go ahead.
No, about the Levi at 10 o'clock tomorrow.
Oh, fine. So tell us the information because I know what people have been calling me about that. Yes. What's
Sharma Bunim at 16 to 44th is 10 o'clock, and they're going to Eretz Yisrael.
Oh, so the burial is going to be in Israel itself, in Eretz Yisrael.
Yeah. So here, only good news, hopefully.
Amen, amen. And that's the revival by Moshe Wolfson of
Yeah, only good
Tarvadas.
news.
Amen, amen. Thank you.
Zev, Harav
Yeah.
Wilson, just to take a second and go off topic, Harav Wilson, it was a year ago around this time that he took an audience with Mayor Adams, which he typically did not do. He was very specific, Harav Wilson, about not being involved in politics, and it wasn't his way. And he took an audience with the mayor, and he said wonderful things about the mayor and his attitude towards yeshivas in general, and gave him a bracha v'hatzlacha. And he was just, he was incredible in the number of talmidim that felt this kesher with him of who he was, just both from Tarvadas, but also Mispal and Borough Park, who had a very special relationship with him. So it's an incredible loss to the community.
Incredible loss. I know it was sudden. I got an email to say Tehillim, and then I just got the email tonight that he had passed away. So it seemed relatively short, at least from what we can tell over here. Anyway, here's I know a question I'm getting a bunch of questions like this. If Mr. Yeger has to leave his city council seat because of term limits, well, he's actually running for assembly. Who will be replaced with that capacity? So it's too early to say, but I know people are intrigued by that, correct? You're getting that question all the time. Wherever you're going on the campaign, you go, who's going to replace you, right?
Look, like I said at the beginning of the show, I'm Baruch Hashem blessed with an incredible community that I feel like it's my family. And, so when they ask me who's going to replace you, sometimes it feels like they're asking more about me than they're asking about themselves. But I know really, people have this, it's a curiosity, but also they've gotten used to a level of service, not just from me, but there have been 4 members of the council who have represented my district since it was drawn the first time. Myself, David Greenfield, Simcha Felder, and the late Noach Deer, all friends of mine, people who I know since I was a kid, and some of them were personal friends, some of them were mentors to me. And our district's been blessed, I like to think, with 3 giants and then me in public service. And Be'ezus Hashem, God willing, whoever comes after me will do at least the job that you've come to expect, and hopefully much better.
Councilman Kalman Yeger running for assembly on Tuesday, primary day. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Zev, and everybody's got to vote. If you can't vote tomorrow, check it out, see where you vote. You can log in, find my poll site, .vote.nyc, check where you vote, Get your vote in. Tomorrow polls are open from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. at the early voting site, and on Tuesday, Mitzvah Hashem, from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. Please vote. It will be a very low turnout. We're already seeing that, so come on out and vote.
Everybody vote, and especially also in the elections in Bronx and Queens and Westchester, very important races. Thank you.
You gotta come out for George Latimer. This is sakonas nefashos. This is there's no way to describe it other than that. You must vote for your life.
Kalman, thank you.
Thank you. Good Tov, Shavua Tov.
Well, that's all the time we have. Coming up next, Alan Dershowitz, the Dersh Show. He's talking about